Hello, everybody. Looks like the gauge says it's empty. Let's take a walk into the kitchen and see what's in the fridge today, guys. Hey, guys. Thanks for stopping by. This ought to be a really tasty treat. We're going to find out. I'm going to start off by telling you, Tioga Sequoia does not date their beers. Over to the beer site here, it tells you where everybody does their dating. Let me skip over all the way up here and see what it says here. Beerreviews got this beer actually listed here, but Rate Beer does not. They have the regular version of this, but not the bourbon barrel aged version of this. Uh, Evidently, it's very limited because Beer Advocate doesn't even have a score here. It's only got like 5 people that have rated, so it must be a very hard beer to get your hands on. A lot of times when you see this wax on top, it is a pretty rare beer, and it's usually a pretty pricey beer on top of that. Uh, let's see here, Sequoia, no, Tioga, S-T, Tioga, Sequoia, not listed. T-O. They're not even listed on the beer site here. Makes it very hard to find out whether they're dating the 6-packs, 4-packs, the cases, or what they're dating on this particular beer. So, and I've done several of these. I cannot get these beers here in Virginia, and this was sent to me by Chris. So Chris, thanks a bunch, brother, for sending me this one. I know this was a fairly pricey beer. When I see these beers that's got the wax on the top of them, I know they're expensive beers to buy. So thank you, brother, for sending me this beer. Whatever rating these beers get, no matter who sends them to me, it does not reflect on the person that sends it to me. They have no control of why the brewery does not date their bottles or whatever. I'm just so privileged to have the subscribers that I do that send me these awesome beers. And like I said, I know this is not a cheap beer. I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't a $15 to $20, maybe even a $25 bottle of beer. And he sent me several beers, quite a few from this brewery. And it's really sad to me, guys, that these breweries here, we're in 2015, and craft beer revolution has been going on since the 80s. Some of them even since the late 70s. And these guys still choose not to date their beers. If you're producing a $20 to $25, even $15 to $20 beer, and you can't put your date on the bottle or on the label somewhere, you suck. You suck. I mean, that's just plain and simple to me. This says bottle count 1,000. They only did 1,000 bottles of these. 1,000 bottles. They choose to put that on there, but they choose not to put the vintage on here. I don't understand that. It blows my freaking mind, guys. It blows my mind. I don't give a damn how many bottles you put. Put the freaking year on here when it was put in the bottle. That's all I'm going to say about that. Tioga Sequoia, you make some great beers, but you lack the common sense of putting a year or vintage on your bottles, especially something of this magnitude. Don't understand that. If I was in the vicinity of this brewery, I would go in there and ask the brewer what the hell kind of crack he's smoking, or slap his damn jaws. There's no sense in it, guys. It really is. If you're going in the store and you're buying a bottle of beer that costs between $15 and $25, and it doesn't have a year on it in this style, or a month, date, a year, if it's an IPA, double IPA or whatever. Something going on wrong there, guys. I mean, they got their priorities screwed up. They really do. Like I said here, we've already gone to Rate Beer, and Rate Beer has the regular version of this, which is a 12%er, but the barley, the bourbon barrel aged version, which this is, bourbon barrel aged smoked barley wine, is at 15.1%. IBUs are 100 on this. SRM, serve temperature. They've got all the information, glassware snifter, bottle count, but no date. Everything you need to know, but you don't need to know. Oh well. Chris, thanks brother. I do appreciate you sending me this. Like I said, it's no reflection on you because there is no date on the bottle. It's a reflection on them, and I call them out every time that I get something like this from these brewers that think that the glassware is more important than the vintage on this, or the SRM is more important than having a year vintage on these expensive beers. So, Chris, thank you, brother. I do appreciate it. No reflection on you whatsoever. I have to call these guys out on this when they produce, when I see these wax top bottles with no vintage on them. Got to do it. It's my job. Got to do it. Alright, like I said, Rate Beer has nothing on this. They got the regular version. They don't even have the barley, the aged version listed on their website. So we're going to throw everything that they say out the window because they don't even have the right beer listed there. And then we get over to Beer Advocate. They've only got 5 scores, so nobody has any scores on this beer. So, the bourbon barrel aged version of this, as far as food pairings, it's an American barley wine, but it is a monster barley wine, being bourbon barrel aged. Cheeses are sharp, blue, cheddar, your more pungent cheeses, and it says here general dessert or digestive. So, this is almost like a liquor, like a brandy or cognac or something you would have after dinner or before dinner as an aperitif to help digest your food or something. This is a specialty beer. This is not something you'd want to chug. You wouldn't want to buy this and just pour it in a glass and just chug it down like it's Miller Lite. Nah. Somebody needs to slap your jaws if that's what you're doing. Every day you got deep pockets that you can afford to buy a beer like this, and you're going to drink it like that. So let's get on with this one, guys. I got to take my knife and cut some of this massive wax off the top of the beer here so we can get into it. These guys produce some very tasty beers. They do produce some fairly mediocre beers too. So you take your chances when you buy beers from these breweries and not knowing what you're getting. And I'm not a big fan of buying expensive beers not knowing what they're going to bring, especially when you see this wax on the bottle top. They've taken the time to have somebody at the end of the bottling line dipping these bottles, but they don't find it important enough to put a date on it anywhere, at least a year vintage on it. So that blows my mind, guys. I just can't figure it out. Let's get the cap off of this puppy. Little bit of hiss. Not a big hiss on this one. And I don't want the wax down into my glass. Make sure there's no loose particulates on the top of the beer here. %er. Let's see if it produces a head with this aggressive pour. Man, there's a little bit left in there. About a finger and a half of head there on this one. Very cloudy. A deep, cloudy, copper colored beer. Cannot see the ball through it, guys. Not at all. Good looking beer though, for a bourbon barrel aged barley wine. Let's get a nose on it. Definitely getting hints of the bourbon barrel. I'm getting some notes of caramel and toffee. You got a hint of smokiness there. It's not overpowering. It's not not up in the forefront. You really have to look for it to find it. There is some big booziness there at 15%, 15.10%. This, and just my guessing on this part, this is their more likely their standard smoke chaser that's been put into the bourbon barrels, and of course it absorbs some of that bourbon and it increases the alcohol up to 15%. Toffee, caramel, alcohol, a hint of some smoke, and that's basically all I'm getting. So let's give it a taste and see what we got. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Chris. Thank you, brother. As you can see, the head is dissipated all the way down to nothing now, just hardly covering the top of the beer. Booziness right off the top. Definitely tell it's a Barleywine. Nice sweetness up front. IBUs, like I said, there's big IBUs on this. It's 100, I think it says. Yep. 100 IBUs. A lot of hops and bittering hops to balance out a beer that's 15.10%. Very tasty though. It really is. A final beer of the evening type beer. You wouldn't want to, like I said, just wouldn't want to be the first beer you drink of the evening, especially if you, unless this is the only beer you're drinking of the evening. Very well made. It is very well made beer. And when I taste a beer, it tastes as tasty as this one does. And there is no kind of dating on it anywhere. It saddens my heart. It really does, guys. It just shows it's more important to them to put bullshit information on the label and pay somebody at the end of the line, the bottling line, to put wax on it when they can't even step up to the plate and put a vintage on it. Sad. And other than being a slight boozy, and it's probably a fresh bottle, we have no idea though. We have no idea. Even Chris, the guy that bought the bottle and paid for it and shipped it, paid to ship it to me, has no idea what the vintage is on this. This is the kind of beer that's probably only produced one time. And the labels are made one time. And they print those labels one time. But they can't put the vintage on there. This beer will probably keep 20 years, guys. It really would. But how are you going to know what vintage it is unless they decide to print that on the label? So I'm not gonna flap my gums about that anymore on this beer right here. It has no date. That sucks. Tioga Sequoia. You need to get your shit together. You need to get it. It's a great beer, but you lack to put that information on the bottle. So we're going to let the other half have the other half of this, and we're going to sip on it. Might fire up a little bit of a cigar while I am sipping on this, since it's such a massively monster beer. And we'll come back and do the final chug and grade on this one. It's a great beer, guys. We just need more. We need the vintage. We need the vintage on this. We really do. I'll be right back. Alright, guys, I'm back. Got this a little up here. Very tasty barley wine. It's got a nice, not getting a huge hint of the bourbon in there, but it's there. It's very, very subtle. It's very pleasant though. I mean, for a 15+% beer, very well made beer. It's just sad that they find it necessary to put all this silly information like the SRM and bottle count and all that on there instead of the vintage of the beer. It is. So, as far as I'm concerned, and like I said, Gregsbeer doesn't even have the bourbon barrel aged version of this listed, and Beer Advocate only has like 5 different ratings on this, and it's not enough for them to put a rating on their website. So I'm on my own on this one. Neither one of these sites give me a rating to go by or a reference for what other people think, other than reading their reviews and what they think of the beer individually. There's no rating for either site. Rate Beer doesn't even have this listed. I don't understand that at all. So, but Beer Advocate has 5 people that's had this beer, and like I said, I don't know how many ratings they need to actually put a rating on their site. But neither one of these sites have a rating for this beer. So I'm on my own. So let's do the final chug. There is some alcohol. It's 15%er. There is some alcohol to this one. It's not burning or anything like that, but it is a big beer. It's a very big beer. And you can tell that by smelling it. I mean, it's there. You can tell it's been put in bourbon barrels. I mean, it's not huge bourbon, but you can tell it's been put in bourbon barrels. Big alcohol, big beer. Final chug. Very nice beer, though. Very well made beer. Just be aware that it is a big beer. This is a sipper, not a chugger. What I call a final beer of the evening type of beer. Something you would have with a big meal or after dinner as an aperitif to help you digest your dinner. Something you wouldn't want to be the first beer of the day or the evening or however, whenever you drink your beers. It's very pleasant. But as far as my rating on this one, to me, guys, it is an A beer. It is definitely an A beer. It's a very pricey beer, I'm sure. I didn't buy it. It was sent to me. But Chris, if you want to put some comments on there, what this beer costs, I wouldn't be afraid to say this beer was a $20 bottle. I would not hesitate at all to say this was a $20 bottle of beer. And they find it unnecessary to put a vintage on this. And over to the beer site, it has all the craft beer breweries listed. They're not even listed on there. So on my own on this one, guys, as far as I'm concerned, this is a 9 beer in an 8 bottle. It's an 8 beer. It definitely is a very tasty bourbon barrel aged barley wine. But we need the vintage on the bottle. So 8 for me on this one, guys. If you've had this one from Tioga Sequoia, let me know what you think of it. Kind of think it's a fairly rare beer since neither one of these sites have a rating on this beer, and Rate Beer doesn't even have this bourbon barrel aged version listed on their website at all. So evidently none of these guys over there has even seen it or heard of it. So kind of rare, I would think. So leads me to think this one-time brewed beer, and they failed to put a vintage on it. So my thoughts on this one, guys. If you've had this one from them, this is the bourbon barrel aged version of their Smoke Jumper. Bourbon barrel aged version, 15.10%. Very tasty. Need a little more information from me. Just my opinion. If you've had it, let me know what you think. And let's go see what's in the fridge tomorrow. See you then.